congratulations so much on Mr. K. I had a chance to watch it this weekend and thought it was phenomenal. And it's such a pleasure to talk with you today.
Oh, good to talk to you as well. Thank you.
So, to begin, can you talk a little bit about what the process was like getting into character for this role after reading the script, or did you look toward anything for inspiration to embody this character?
Oh, let me just ask one question. Have you seen any of my films that I'm touring around with right now?
No, they sent me some materials for the new one coming out.
No, You're
No,
Wrong or
no,
Spooky
you're wrong,
Academy.
but I haven't been able to see it yet. No.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I just started touring with that as well at the same time that Mr. K is touring. So I'm in the same cities. I was in New York and did a Q&A for both Mr. K and then performed my live show and played my shows at the IFC, and I premiered it at MoMA. And now I'm in Los Angeles. Just had the two shows at the Arrow, and then tomorrow night. I have a Q&A for Mr. K, and then I fly to Chicago and then have the Q&A for Mr. K at the Music Box Theater next week or this week, I guess, and on the 22nd, and then on the 23rd, I have my show. Then I have my shows in Boston, in Ottawa, in Tampa, in Minneapolis, and in Texas. So I'm talking about all of the things at the same time. People can find out more about it on crispinglover.com. But for Mr. K, I got the screenplay with a PDF file that had the images of what the set design and such was going to be like. And it looked like it was going to be a quality production. I got an offer for it, and the screenplay was well written. So I had a Zoom meeting with uh, Tallulah, and we talked for a long time about a lot of different things, and it all worked out. The character was, because the script is open for interpretation, which I like doing with my own films as well, and I enjoy as an audience when when films don't dictate to me what I'm supposed to be interpreting it as, and I where it's open for me becoming a participant in the thought process that I like as an audience. And because of that, there were certain things that I had interpreted for the character that were different from what Tallulah was then asking for. And 98% of the time, 99% of the time, I was able to uh, correlate that into what I was wanting. But there was a lot of discussion about and what I had interpreted when I read it. But there was a lot of discussion about tone and interpretation.
These images that were in the PDF file, were the sets already built, or were these kind of like rough ideas of like just
It
kind of
was rough
getting it?
ideas, but it gave a good concept of what it was going to be like. So and I it seemed it was correct when I saw when I got to see the actual sets. They were along the lines of what had been put forth.
And the film has been described as Kafka-esque, which I feel is very appropriate. So I'm just curious what your relationship is with Franz Kafka's works.
Well, yeah, I had read when I was 15 and 16, I read quite a lot of Franz Kafka. And he was my favorite author until I read Dostoevsky, and then Dostoevsky became my favorite. But I still love Kafka. But because of that, I had a very specific voice in my head when I read Franz Kafka. Still, if I read him, there's a very particular voice. I would almost call it documentary-like. It's not. There is humor in Franz Kafka, but the humor is of the darkest kind, where really his stories are often about people misunderstanding people to the point of absolute negation of their humanity, physical presence, psychological well-being. It's really dark. It's not like light comedic humor. And it was something that Tallulah and I had a fair amount of discussion about because I realized midway through the film that she was more referencing an Orson Welles film, which I had seen years before, The Trial, where he adapted Franz Kafka. And I love Orson Welles. But no matter what he does, whether it's his films that are considered his more well-revered films or not, he's always interesting to me. But I would say that when I saw the film, which had been years before, I hadn't revisited it until midway through shooting because I started to realize what Tallulah was referencing really was that film, and that film to me was. Not the voice in my head that I had when I read the literary Franz Kafka. So there was discussion about that. Um, but yeah, I understand why people call it Kafkaesque, and Tallulah herself is openly stating that there was a Kafka influence, but I would say more specifically, there was a Kafka influence via Orson Welles's The Trial, which is different, a bit different.
You play a magician in the film, and I'm curious if you've had any interest in magic yourself over the years, or if you happen to learn any tricks in anticipation for Mr. K.
I had played an illusionist in another film, which I talked to a magician for that film, and then he ended up uh, introduced me here I'm in Los Angeles right now, introducing me to the daughter of the people who had started the Magic Castle here in Los Angeles. And luckily, happily, she made me a member. I always feel like I'm going to go in and I won't be a member anymore, but I'm still a member. I'll go in every once in a while. I haven't been in a while, but it's a great place in Los Angeles. And magicians, there's different little stages and bigger stages, and it's very, really a unique place in Los
I,
Angeles.
I do love the Magic Castle.
Yeah,
It's a fun place. It's a fun night out.
it is, yeah. So I'd gone there a lot, and I don't try to figure out the tricks or anything when I go to that. I just enjoy the illusion of it. And but then I studied yet in more detail with a magician, a very good magician, while we were shooting on Mr. K. And I had to do some genuine sleight of hand in it. And so, of course, you understand how these things are done when you do it. And in a certain way, I almost have to unthink it when I have gone back to the Magic Castle since that and have noticed certain things that I was taught that uh, you can sort of tell, but I try not to think about it because I just enjoy the illusion.
And you're in, I think, almost every scene of Mr. K, often reacting to the increasingly bizarre, sometimes volatile characters. Did you have a lot of room to play around with giving a different reaction upon seeing someone new or responding to a certain situation? Or would other actors sometimes give you different line readings that would make you reassess maybe how your character would respond to these situations?
Well, there was a lot of reactive qualities for the character, and the actors were all very good in the film. So I had good people to react to, and it was yeah. I would try to stay within the moment of what was going on as much as I could. But all of the actors were very well cast and solid, good actors. So it was easy to react to the people.
And you're acting in Mr. K, but as we mentioned, you're also you direct your own films. I'm curious if you find there any differences in your performances when you are directing kind of yourself, like directing in something you're acting in, versus acting in someone
Yeah,
else's
there
movie.
is a big difference. And the main difference is when I'm acting in somebody else's film, I know I cannot repair anything in the editing. I edit my own films as well. And if it really came to it, I could even reshoot because I fund my own films. So it's a much more, for me, it's much more relaxed to perform in my own films because I don't have to be concerned about what can go wrong if I make any mistakes in the performance. So there is a certain, I am aware of what can happen if things are wrong. So it's yes, it's actually it's more difficult for me to act for other people than it is for myself, mainly because I just know I have to protect myself in terms of making it as un destructible as possible. Of course, one can make choices that are incorrect. If you go down the wrong path, then there's nothing that can be done no matter what. But I usually I try to make the right, of course, I always try to make the right choices. One can make mistakes, but yeah, so I'm pretty adherent to what I am trying to accomplish when I'm in front of somebody else's camera. But when I'm in front of my own camera, of course, I do have in my head what it is I want as well. I would say though that there's a more I mean, if it depends on the scene, if there's a scene that has tension in or what have you, of course that's necessary for it. But I would say my concern about things going wrong is far less when I'm acting in front of my own cameras.
I did want to ask you about No, You're Wrong. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but it looked very interesting, and I was reading up on it, and I found one piece that said you filmed No, You're Wrong on 35 millimeter film as opposed to 16 millimeter. Uh, what did you see as like the advantage of 35 for that particular movie, or were there any major changes to the filmmaking process by using the 35 millimeter?
Well, the whole title of the film is Know You're Wrong or Spooky Action at a Distance, which is it's there's an important element in the film for the spooky action at a distance. Yes, it was shot on 35 millimeter. My first two films I shot on 16, standard 16. So this was the first one I shot on on 35 millimeter film, which I'm very glad that I did. But this film took a long time to make. The color correction on the film took two years. And when I'm saying color correction, it was much more than just turning dials that happen in digital filmmaking because it was shot on 35 millimeter negative, and only realized in the post-production area. I was started thinking about it probably before getting into post-production, but I changed. There's five different time periods in the film: 1868, 1888, 1918, 1948, and contemporary. And each one of those eras has a completely different color correction. And the most complex color correction was the 1868, 1888 portions, which we had another 35 millimeter hand crank camera as opposed to an electric camera. It was owned by Karl Zeman, a great Czech animator filmmaker, more than just animation, but he started in animation. And we had one of his cameras, and we reshot everything from 1868 and 1888 off of a 4K monitor with the hand crank camera. in a monochromatic film. And then the 1868 portions were hand processed in a chemical vat, which would give deformations like happen with aged film. But it's done on film, so it isn't a digital effect. And then the 1888 portions, we took that footage that had been reshot with the Carl Zeman hand crank camera, and we had that processed at a film laboratory, so it didn't have the deformations. Then the 1868 parts, we had an animator frame by frame, like in the techniques of melees in the early 1900s, hand dye color into the movie. So we did it authentically the way it was done in the early 1900s. For the 1888 portions, my original interest was, and what I wanted to do originally was do a two-strip Technicolor, but which two-strip Technicolor was greens and reds and black and white film. They knew that they would, if they could just perfect those two colors, that later they could get the third color and to give a full range. But the early two-strip Technicolor films have a very specific and really a very beautiful look. If it was properly, there was a proper art direction and production design that incorporated, it was really quite interesting. But it proved it basically impossible. Things could already have changed with some AI coloration, but it was we couldn't get it to make it look like that. So there was a different early color process, which was a pre-technicolor process called stencil coloring, and that was also impossible to do in the way it was originally done. But we could get something that looked along the lines of what stencil coloring did. And then the 1918 parts, originally I was wanting to try to make it look like three-strip Technicolor, but that is not a photographic process. So that was, there were machines that did it, and it was a very beautiful saturated coloring process. But then the 1948 portions, we just turned, that was the easiest because we just turned it down to monochromatic like a 1940s black and white film. And then the contemporary stuff, we made it just colored in the same way that contemporary film is colored. But when I put everything together with the super saturated 1918 part, that part looked way off. It didn't look like Technicolor. It looked like contemporary film that was improperly overly saturated. So I had to figure out something else which had to do with higher contrast, making flicker, which has to do with shutter frames and desaturating. I'm very pleased with it, but all of these things, we had to recolor it again, all the 1918 portion, which is a majority of the film. Anyhow, this is why it took 2 years to color correct the movie. It was a lot of work.
Well, sounds like it. Thank you again so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And I hope people go watch Mr. K and go watch Know You're Wrong or Spooky Action at a Distance.
Thank
Roadshow, as it sounds like,
Yeah,
or
yeah. Well, I have a live show with
what?
books that I've taken from the 1800s and reworked. People can find out more information on crispinglover.com. So it's the books are an important part of it because they work in a surreal aspect that the language of the film, my filmmaking takes cues from the surrealists with a capital S, and it gets people into a mindset by the time the film comes on.